It's a typical Tuesday afternoon in a crowded vegetable market in Beirut. The sun is out, people are haggling over prices, and the hum of city life is everywhere. Suddenly, a small, rhythmic chirp echoes through the stalls. A man reaching for a bag of oranges stops, reaches into his pocket, and pulls out a small, rugged pager. He looks at the screen to read a new message. Boom. Before the smoke can even clear, another explosion ripples through a nearby barber shop. Then a funeral procession. Then a car driving down a busy highway. In the span of just a few minutes, thousands of people are down, and the one device they trusted most has become their executioner. This wasn't a drone strike. This wasn't a suicide bomber. This was a supply chain massacre. They didn't hack the software. They hacked the assembly line. What you just witnessed was the activation of Mossad's Red Dot protocol, the most sophisticated, patient, and terrifying supply chain infiltration in modern history. We're talking about thousands of factory-sealed devices, modified with high-grade explosives and sent directly into the hands of the enemy without a single red flag being raised. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how an intelligence agency can reach inside a secure manufacturing process and turn ordinary consumer electronics into lethal weapons that wait years for the perfect moment to strike. To understand how this was even possible, we have to look at the massive paranoia that started it all. For years, Hezbollah's leadership was terrified of Israeli cyber intelligence. They knew that every smartphone is a tracking beacon. They knew that GPS, microphones, and cameras could be turned against them at any moment. So the order went out from the very top. Go dark, ditch the iPhones, ditch the Androids. They decided to go back to the 1990s and use pagers. They thought pagers were safe because they don't have GPS and they don't use complex operating systems. But that safety was the very trap Mossad was counting on. See, when an entire organization decides to buy thousands of the same device at once, they create a massive logistical target. Mossad didn't just wait for the shipment to happen. They created the shipment. They didn't intercept the pagers on a dark highway like a movie scene. They did something much more clever. They created a web of ghost companies across Europe. One of these, a firm called BAC Consulting in Budapest, appeared to be a legitimate distributor for a Taiwanese pager brand. They had a physical office, they had a professional website, and they had a legal license to produce these devices. To Hezbollah, they looked like a standard third-party vendor. In reality, they were a front for the Mossad. But before I tell you how they managed to hide high explosives inside a tiny pager without changing its weight or appearance, you need to understand the red dot philosophy. In the world of high-level espionage, a red dot is a target that has been physically compromised within the supply chain. The golden rule of a red dot operation is that the device must remain perfectly functional. If the pager feels weird, if the battery dies too fast, or if the screen looks slightly off, the operative will throw it away. The sabotage has to be invisible to the human eye, to X-ray machines, and even to professional technicians. The engineers inside Mossad's technical wing faced a massive hurdle. How do you fit enough explosives to be lethal inside a device that is already packed with circuit boards and batteries? They couldn't just tape a block of plastic explosive inside the plastic casing. There simply wasn't room. Instead, they re-engineered the components. They used a powerful explosive called PETN. According to investigators, they managed to integrate the explosive directly into the battery pack or the internal housing of the pager. We are talking about a few grams of material so precisely placed that even if you took the pager apart, it would look like a standard piece of hardware. And here is the pattern interrupt that paralyzed the entire region. Just as the world was trying to process the pager explosions, a second wave of terror began. On the very next day, during the funerals for those killed by the pagers, a new sound filled the air: explosions. This time, it wasn't the pagers, it was ICOM walkie-talkies. While Hezbollah members were frantically throwing their pagers into the trash, their handheld radios, devices they had used for years, started detonating in their hands, their offices, and their homes. This proved that Mossad hadn't just compromised one single order. They had compromised the entire logistical network. They had multiple open loops running simultaneously, waiting for the exact moment to close them all at once. How did they keep this a secret for years? This is the most incredible part of the tradecraft. Some of these devices were manufactured and shipped as early as 2022. For over 2 years, these bombs were being used every single day. People were sending messages, checking coordinates, and charging these devices on their nightstands while they slept. Mossad sat back and watched. They showed a level of patience that is almost unheard of in the digital age. They weren't looking for a quick intelligence win. They were building a physical trap that could be sprung at the push of a button when the strategic timing was perfect. The trigger was a stroke of psychological genius. It wasn't a simple timer. It was a specific message. On the day of the attack, a signal was sent to thousands of devices at the exact same time. The pagers let out a long, persistent beep, mimicking an urgent, high-priority alert. This was done for one specific reason. When a pager beeps like that, your natural instinct is to hold it up to your face to read the screen. By using the device's own notification system as the fuse, they ensured the maximum possible damage to the target's eyes and hands. They turned the victim's own curiosity into the detonator. The tradecraft here is officially known as interdiction. Usually this happens at a port or a warehouse where agents swap out a few devices. But Mossad took interdiction to the industrial level. By controlling the manufacturing license through shell companies, they ensured that the devices were born with the explosives already inside them. They didn't have to break into a warehouse because they were the warehouse. They didn't have to bypass security because they were the security. This operation has completely shattered the global understanding of logistics. If a state actor can compromise a pager, what else can they reach? Your laptop? Your home router? The hardware inside a national power grid? The red dot operations have proven that the air gap, the idea that a device is safe because it isn't connected to the internet, is now dead. If the hardware itself is the enemy, there is no such thing as a secure device. The most chilling realization isn't what happened in 2024. It's what might be sitting on a shelf right now. When you realize that the global supply chain is so fragmented and complex that no one truly knows where every single capacitor or battery comes from, you realize that we are all living in a world of potential red dots. Hezbollah thought they were being smart by going low-tech, but they forgot that in the world of high-stakes espionage, the most dangerous weapon isn't a missile. It's the device you willingly put in your pocket every morning. The age of the digital-only hack is over. We have entered the era of the kinetic supply chain, where the update isn't a piece of software, but a signal that turns your hardware into a fragment of a war zone. If you think your tech is safe just because you have a strong password, you're looking at the wrong layer of the stack. The hardware is the new front line, and the next red dot might already be counting down. The real question is, how many other devices are currently waiting for their own specific message to arrive?